Normal BS just won't do. ChaoticRadio.com.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Do I buy country life butter?
Radio.com. What's up, people? Beautiful disaster on a Tuesday afternoon. It's fucking hot today. What's up, gentlemen? Ladies?
Nothing much.
Hey.
We were just chilling, having fun over here.
You were?
Yeah.
So today we have hospital food.
Mm-hmm. Vince Conrad. The smart pills.
Tell me all about the band. We're going to talk all about them. We're going to listen to all the music later on.
You're going to love him.
I know. I was reading all about it this morning.
He loves Sex Pistols, too.
Oh, everyone loves the Sex Pistols.
Well,
if you don't love the Sex Pistols, in my book, you drop down. Not just a little bit, a fucking hell of a lot. I know a lot of people compare the Sex Pistols to other bands, and to me, you shouldn't even. One guy told me, how do you like Sid Vicious so much?
Who asked
He was a fucking dick. I can't remember. Someone on Facebook. And I posted something about Sid, and they went, how can you even fucking like him so much when he couldn't even plan, he couldn't do this, and Joe Strummer's an absolute... I'm like, whoa, don't compare fucking Joe Strummer to Sid Vicious. We're not... No one's saying anything. We talk about it quite often, you know. Joe Strummer and Sid Vicious Sid Vicious is a fucking dick. Simple as that. It was like the world's biggest fucking punk ass. Fucking... All I want to do is have a laugh, fuck everyone else, and be Sid. He was he was a picture anyway of what punk represented in 1978, 77, 78.
Stupid punk rock kid.
Yeah, exactly. What your parents wanted you to never be, right?
Exactly. You know, when I saw him in New York, I actually saw one of the last three shows that he did at Max's Kansas City.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was actually living on 22nd Street between 8th and 9th when Sid and Nancy were living in the Chelsea between 8th and 7th on 23rd Street. And, you know, they used to go get pizza down on 8th Avenue right at 23rd Street. Everybody got pizza there.
I love pizza. It's pizza, New Yorkers. Leave me alone.
Hi, Dutchie.
What up,
Hi,
Cat
Vince.
Monroe?
Hi, Alina. I got stuck in traffic.
You get stuck in traffic
my
every
God.
week.
Yes,
you may
I
want to
know.
just, instead of going for a
Leave
beach
early.
walk at 8.
I didn't go this morning.
You sick?
No, I had an appointment. That's why.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
But I'm really excited about this because I want to hear. I walked in, you're talking about the New York.
We just started.
Stuff.
We barely got going.
Yeah, I'm interested because I know you're bi-coastal with that.
Yes.
And I love New York. I've been there quite a few times, and I'm so interested in the punk rock scene there and all that stuff. So this is going to be a great show.
Well, the Sid Vicious show that you saw, that was the shows that were recorded for the album Sid Sings.
I'm not sure. I
believe. Yeah. And didn't he play with, like, part of the band was, I don't know if Johnny Thunders played in that band with him, Richard Hell and a couple of the others. I couldn't give you the exact names, but it was all of the New York scene.
Yeah, I just remember when he sang, he was singing straight forward. I mean, he never, his glance never shifted. He just sang straight forward the whole show. Amazing.
How well do you remember it?
Pretty well.
And was it good or bad?
It was Sid.
Exactly.
It was an experience, right?
It was Sid.
As in, it was really fucking bad. It's funny because...
That's one way to say it.
I watched the movie again the other day. But I don't know, a month ago, whatever it was, when his birthday would have been. Mm-hmm. You know, fucking Sid Vicious would have been 57, I think they said, or 58.
That's still young.
Could you imagine
That's
a 58?
Still young.
Well, look at John Lydon now, right?
Yep.
And then look at his pictures of a young kid, right?
Yep.
Sid's only ever going to have that one face.
That's true. That's very, very true.
And you'll never forget Sid Vicious being that person.
He's always young.
Whereas when you look at John, totally different. I mean, he's never lost that persona, and he's never lost that, you know, I'm going to fucking have the craziest hair, and I'm going to, you know. One thing same with you, though, right? You do. Nothing changes in there.
That's
and
right.
Nothing changes in there.
That's right.
Right?
I mean, once it's in the blood, you know, it stays there forever.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
I mean, life changes around you. You know, things happen. You get older, but it's something
it's embedded
that never,
in you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just never feel complete unless you're working on music or art.
And what's your specialty, if any? You know what I mean? Out of those, all the stuff that you work on, Because when I read all about this, I was blown away. Like, wow, this is going to be fucking exciting stuff.
Yeah. Actually, when I went to New York, it was in November of 1975, and landed in the Chelsea Hotel, lived there for about 6 months. And
I've walked by that hotel so many times. I read that you lived there. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a fun place. But,
Ghost stories. Lots of ghost stories, I hear.
but in the end, I started a band. I actually went with a band called Sweet Star that had Holiday Ian playing guitar, who was actually in American Bad Taste, which is the record you have. And then Billy Ray was the lead singer, who's actually the drummer for the Smart Pills. So we had a band, and then after that band only lasted a short time, but I started the Aliens. And so in that band, I played guitar, and played guitar pretty consistently all the way up until the Smart Pills. And when the Smart Pills came in, I wanted to play with Get Smart. He had just had a record deal with A&M Records with Billy Squier in a band called Piper. And he was very disillusioned with Billy Squier and wanted to get into the punk rock scene. But we were all sort of, trying to get a record deal, trying to get where he was, but he was a very good guitar player and a very good songwriter, so we kind of locked, he basically walked out on Squier, and we started the Smart Pills. And at that point in time, everybody was
What year are we talking about?
1978.
78.
Yeah, this was 78. And still in New York, over on 22nd Street. We all lived together, me, Billy, and Git. He was hiding out from Billy Squier, from McCoy Management, who actually managed.
Did you all share one tiny little apartment?
No, we shared 3 tiny little separate rooms. We each had our, but it was.
I know that's tiny out there.
With the merchant, the Merchant Marines, and.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. There was a whole bunch of you guys living out there at the time, right?
That's
in the
right.
same area.
That's right. Yeah. And so at that time, everybody was kind of switching instruments. It was cool to just not play your regular instrument, but just pick up something different. So I picked up bass. Bill was the lead singer, so he actually started playing drums, and that's how we, started the Smart Pills.
That's awesome.
Born and raised in New York?
No, I'm actually from Dayton, Ohio. Lived there till I was about 8 or 9. Parents got divorced, moved to Arizona for a while, went to California about 6 months after that, was in military school for 3 years at 10, 1965 to 68. And then went to another boarding school in Chicago, and then bounced back to Ohio for high school. So,
and how'd you end up? Where'd you go to first, New York or L.A.?
First to New York. Yeah, first in New York. Ian had gone a couple of months before, and he wanted to put a band together for Sweet Star, and he came down. He actually wanted to steal our drummer, and when our drummer told us he was going to quit our band in Ohio and go play with Ian in New York, I just said, well, hey, you need a guitar player. And it turns out Ian wanted a guitar player, and so we all decided to go to New York, except the drummer didn't go. So it was just me and Ian initially, and then Bill followed. Bill was the lead vocalist in that band, too.
And always been? Well, no, can't always have been, because we're too fucking old to always have been punk, And it's funny, because yesterday I posted a Sparks song, This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, to me, that was like the precursor of punk. I mean, it wasn't because of songs like that punk happened, but that was like at 12, 13, 14, that's what I was listening to, the British glam scene, Gary Glitter, The Sweet,
right.
T-Rex,
right.
and all that kind of shit. And then punk exploded. Well, New York, what was New York listening to?
That's what I want to know.
New York was great. I mean, it was sort of like the glitter. I mean, Lou Reed,
it was glammy, wasn't
New
it?
York Dolls had already sort of happened when I went there. I mean, when I got there, it was again November '75. I actually saw the Heartbreakers with Richard Hell. They played at a club called Mothers in November of '75, right across the street. And so it was kind of this transition, really, just through my eyes. I mean, there was, looking back on it, there was a lot of different things happening at that time with a lot of different people in New York.
Yeah, it was so many.
I was
people,
a 20-year-old kid, just there to play, play music, and so from my eyes, it was kind of a transition. It was kind of moving from that glam rock into punk, and punk was really sort of already getting started by 75, I think.
Well, it
I wondered about that because we always talk about that. You always ask the guests actually about when they think. Because everybody's opinion seems a little different depending on where you were, and that's the earliest I've heard is 75. We usually hear 76, and I was reading that, I thought, interesting. That's the earliest I've heard so far. 75.
Totally depends where you were.
Yeah.
Because there was no punk in England in 75, but there was in New York.
Right. Yeah, New York was different.
But it wasn't called punk at the time.
Well, see, the thing is in New York, you had the record companies, and they basically dictated who got picked up. If you couldn't get a record deal, it was basically the kiss of death, and they weren't picking up punk bands. Not until the Ramones. They first got, I think it was on Sire Records. They got
everybody was scared of the punk bands.
Oh yeah, and it was a challenge to the already established rock and roll. I mean, there was a lot of different. Sort of an anti-philosophy to a lot of the stuff that was happening then. Very nihilistic, but back to basics.
People are afraid of different. It looks different, smells different, sounds different. Forget it. Yep.
Well, you mentioned Sire Records. Now, were they about before punk, or did they spring up because of punk, or did they just happen to be a band that picked up on, first of all, like the Ramones, because the Ramones were on Sire?
Right. Yeah. I'm not really sure. I remember when Git was actually in the studio. He was still with Piper and Squire. I was talking to the engineer who was doing their record, and he had been the engineer on the first Ramones record. And he was basically saying, they were kind of looking down on the Ramones a little bit in that, it was very straightforward, very easy to record, not very complicated music. I think the whole budget was $6,000 or $7,000.
That's one of the great things I found when I started playing guitar. And Kat, you probably never listened to it this way, but if you ever get a chance, I imagine you have, because you just kind of said it. The Ramones were easy to record. Reason being, the bass guitar was in the left speaker, the lead rhythm guitar was in the right speaker, and if you actually changed the balance, it totally cut out the other instrument.
Right.
So if you went to left speaker, there was no lead guitar whatsoever, just bass. I can't imagine an easier way of plugging in. Right, you're recording in that speaker. This is stereo at its fucking most simple.
Right.
Your right speaker, your left speaker, singers coming out of both speakers, so's the drums. Fuck it, let's play.
It gives a certain sound though. I do notice a difference.
Oh no, it gives
I know,
unbelievable fucking sound.
A lot of them. I have my the show I have Thursday, and I hear a lot of newer bands, DIY bands, and some of them, because they don't have the budget, they record like that, and I can hear a big difference, especially if a speaker's out or if I'm fooling with my headphones or something. You can tell it's a huge difference there. I actually kind of like it. I like it. It's that raw, simplistic thing.
You didn't really hear it crystal clear unless you put headphones on back in the day. Which, your parents were like, fucking turn your music off, put your fucking headphones on, one of the two. You put it on, you go, wow, this is totally different. At first you thought something was broken. It was that simple.
Yeah.
Well, I saw the Ramones a couple of times at Max's, and it didn't matter. In those days, everybody was.
I saw the Ramones maybe a dozen times. I got lucky to see them that many times. And,
you saw them in England?
Yeah. I saw them once over here. I believe it was their last ever show at the Palladium in Hollywood. But I saw them in England a bunch of times. And they got bigger and bigger and bigger. So, and they were playing, the first time I saw them, Hammersmith Odeon, 3,500 people. The Rainbow, I was at the Rainbow show that they recorded the album It's Alive on New Year's Eve in 78 or 79. But they again, bands like that, you were there at the time.
Yeah.
I was in London at the time. We have many, many guests talking about the LA scene, which again, a totally different fucking scene.
Yeah, the Orange County, it's different everywhere, and it's really interesting to hear. I love these conversations because it's crazy to hear how people are intertwined. Musicians now, like I heard you mention Billy Squire. He's more with the metal scene genre.
Everybody!
Yes. And you hear these different names, and you don't realize the roots, the history of it all.
Yeah, well, it's funny. The bass player for the band Piper was Danny Siccardi, and he actually played with Wayne County and the Backstreet Boys.
Okay, yeah, there's so much.
Yeah.
It's crazy. If you made like a family tree, that'd be interesting.
But see, people were trying to get a record deal back then, and that was the motivation. Now with the internet, it's revolutionized everything.
It has, but they're all still after the ultimate thing, which is a record deal, because you can. a lot of my friends or a lot of the people who've been on the show in bands have got great fucking recordings. But although it's out there on the internet, you don't have that distribution. You're not getting it into the shop, into the stores. And now things are fucking changing big time.
Yeah.
With vinyl coming back as big as it's got,
Yeah.
you know, the digital download seems to be disappearing. And I never thought that would happen.
I didn't think it would happen either.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I mean, what I'm trying to do with Vince Conrad Productions is basically, you know, I'm looking at it as a model for a musician. I mean, anybody can really do what I did. You know, you if you make the records, you promote it on the internet.
Yep.
Folks like you, if you can get support, if you can get promotion, and you can distribute it yourself.
And these days, everybody's willing to help promote, so that's the easy part.
You know, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it really puts the art back into the hands of the artist.
Yeah, DIY. Yep.
Well, I'm gonna read the link that I got in front of me, which is
That's really interesting, isn't
an
it?
introduction
I love
to
that
you
part.
because and excuse me for that's what I was trying to bring up because when I read it before you came on the show, I'm like, that is fucking interesting as hell. I'll read the whole thing, right? If you get bored, you can always fuck off. Right? Not you.
It's not boring though. I've read it a few times myself.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
you
boring.
as well. Fucking anybody. If you get bored as well.
And if you're into music, it's not boring because I read it and that's what caught my eye is reading this and that's why I said, hey, you want to come on the show? This is really
Oh
interesting.
shit! Yeah, I mean,
you
all
can't
right.
pass that up.
Vince Conrad Productions (VCP) is offering downloads and CDs of early punk recordings, 75 to 81. From the Aliens, the Smart Pills, American Bad Taste, which have been previously undiscovered and unreleased to the general public. These first-generation punk bands performed from 75 to 81 and were part of the early punk rock scenes in both New York and LA. These bands, as well as many others at the time, were not together long enough to sign with major record companies. However, they wrote many original songs which the bands performed during punk's early days at now legendary venues such as CBGB's, Max's Kansas City, Mothers and Club 82 in New York, and the Mask, Club 88, the Troubadour, King's Palace, and so on in LA. The music offered through VCPs is original recordings made by the band's original members during the early period in punk history. The first generation punk rock music has never been released to the general public until now.
Isn't that amazing?
Just reading that alone as a punk fan interests the fuck out of
It's
me.
exciting.
The stuff that we're talking about there is what I've got sitting on the desk in front of me. Right?
Right.
You grew up with these bands?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I grew up with Ian and Bill from high school, you know, and then other people came in and
In Ohio, high school? Oh, no, you were the high school in
in Dayton.
Okay.
Yeah. Bill went to a different high school in Dayton, but he's still from Dayton. Git is actually from Kansas, and he's like us. I mean, I went to New York with $100 in my pocket and stayed for 3 years.
Wow.
I mean, when I first got there, the second day we were loading it. In those days I only had one guitar, and I remember they gave us a 9th floor in the Chelsea Hotel when we moved in, and after we got, you know, we were bringing Marshall stacks and all this equipment and stuff in, and after we got unloaded, we went down to get something to eat, and somebody scaled the fire escape and stole both our guitars. So there I was in New York with no guitars. So I went from, you know, on that Monday morning, I went from 23rd Street up 7th Avenue, knocked on both sides of the street, asking every door for a job, all the way up to 60th Street. Came back down Broadway, did the same thing, and I had 2 jobs by the end of the day. One job,
that's awesome.
Yeah, one job was with a furrier in the Carnegie Hall building. The other job was with a dry cleaner up on 57th Street, and I gave that one to Bill. And so we were on the way.
So you found Bill a job?
Yes.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah. That's dedication. That's, yeah.
I think I made $75 a week, and one of my jobs was to actually go from 56th Street down to 30th Street to go to the fur market. It was a furrier, a retail furrier, and in those days the subway was 50 cents. So I just saved my whole paycheck for a guitar, and I would go to market about 3 times a day. So I would run the distance and pocket the car fare, and that's what I would eat on.
Wow.
And then in 6 weeks, I bought the 335 that's actually in that picture there.
That's a great story. I like that.
What bands out of all of these were you in? You were in the Aliens,
That
right?
was the Aliens. Yeah.
You were the Aliens.
Yes.
I thought
That's me with a red guitar.
I'm going to play some Aliens. Alina, is this set up on the in the cloud yet or not? All right, then.
And that was 1976.
76, yeah. I like the first song on that, but
Well, keep talking. I'll set it up and keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, so basically I had the guitar in 6 weeks and back in business. I think it was a 67 335.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
how long didn't take very long at all to get that? You said 3 weeks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, we were always hungry in New York. I can remember, when I lived in the Chelsea, Ian and his girlfriend slept in the bed on the box springs, and Bill and I pulled the mattress off, and we slept on the mattress. And Bonnie, the girlfriend, actually worked at 31 Flavors, and she'd get off work around midnight or 1 and come home. She'd steal ice cream. So we wake up immediately and eat the ice cream. I mean, it was lean times.
Yeah, I can imagine.
How come everyone ended up at the Chelsea? What's up with that?
Chelsea it's legendary.
I've walked by it so many times and just imagined the stories that come out of it.
Yeah, Ian actually picked the Chelsea. But we, it's just a legendary hotel. Some people, were living at the Hotel Irving, a couple of other hotels, because the Chelsea was a little more pricey, but it was very cool.
Have they left it as a shithole?
It's a total shithole.
Or have they done anything to it because it's become so fucking famous?
Yeah, I think they're remodeling it now because it is so famous. But it was really cool because it was full of artists. And it's been a legendary artist hotel. Musicians, artists, all kinds of people. And, of course, people would run into trouble, couldn't pay their rents. So they donate, artwork and all this stuff, and that was all over the Chelsea.
That whole area is like that too. And there, I went by, and last time it was still kind of crappy. It was like maybe 3 years ago, so they must have just started fixing it because I wanted to stay there, but it didn't feel safe by myself to be there.
Yeah, well, I actually went back in June of last year for the Maxis Kansas City 50th anniversary, and they're remodeling the Chelsea.
Good.
But I ran into Peter Crowley, who actually booked Maxis. He was like Hilly Crystal booked CBGB's, and Peter booked Maxis, and it was great to run into him. I actually gave him a copy of The Aliens.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really great to hook up with him again.
All right, I'm going to play a track from The Aliens.
Right.
Does it matter what one?
I like the first track, Godzilla the Killer.
Godzilla the Killer. I like the name of it.
Godzilla the Killer. You're listening to chaoticradio.com. We have Vince Conrad in studio with Dutchie, Cat, and Alina this wonderful Tuesday.
It is a chaotic station. It is a chaotic show. We all run through the fucking door at 5 to 3 for a 3 o'clock show.
Yep.
The only people who are set is the guests and fucking Alina.
Yep, she's always here early.
Right, and we're running through with fucking warm
I was
beer.
good, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, summer hit. Traffic.
So, hopefully if I press the button, we'll listen to music. If we don't, we'll carry on talking. If we do, I'll shut the fuck up.
chaoticradio.com.
Here we go.
Because
Facebook, chaoticradio.com.
This is the Aliens.
A beautiful disaster.
1976, Kat, you know this was?
I'm sorry, 1976?
How old were you?
3.
Aw,
I was a baby. chaoticradio.com. A beautiful disaster this wonderful Tuesday with Dutchie, Kat, and Alina. And we have Vince Conrad.
All right.
With telling some awesome stories of, it's like punk history here. Punk History 101.
Yeah, that was the Aliens. That was 2 in a row from the album NYC.
Yes.
Godzilla the Killer, and You Gotta Try.
And it's 1976.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were just saying, you were telling Kat and myself.
Yeah, the last song that we just heard was actually going to be on the second CBGB's album. The Aliens had already signed contracts. It was going to be on Atlantic Records. They had a big van out in front of CBGB's. We did the recording, signed the contracts. That last song, You Gotta Try, and I think it was Manhattan Manhunt, or the other song. But the band ended up breaking up right at the last minute, and we got pulled off the album. So if you ever see that album, you'll see a lot more Mink DeVille. So we were going to have a couple of probably tracks where Mink DeVille is, but
I think it was a huge. Do you know Mink DeVille?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, it's a huge part of that scene.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. You know, we continually, because of different guests, different countries, different influences, even same country, different part of the country. I did spend a lot of time trying to figure out where punk really began, and I've come up with, and this is just me, is Detroit. That's where it fucking started.
Yeah.
You know, and then it went to New York, and then it spread across to London, and then the world.
Yeah, they definitely, I mean, Detroit definitely had the right attitude. The Doors.
Yep.
I thought the Doors were pretty punk. I was into them as well, a little bit earlier or so. And then, but I think it really sort of hit for me when I saw the Heartbreakers, you know, at Mother's in November of '75, and then later the Ramones.
What was that like? Your first punk rock, like actual show where you realized it might be something completely different?
Well, you didn't really know what it was. It was just, you knew it was something different.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, this is punk rock.
But what show can you remember? Like, not exactly, but around when it hit you that this is something different, we're doing something new.
You know, I think really when it became very obvious when all the bands went to England. And then the Sex Pistols came out, the Clash came out, Generation X, and a whole host of other bands. When, you know, when that started happening,
It got labelled.
Yeah,
It got labelled.
So it went to England, came back labeled.
I mean, we
Pretty much, yeah.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Then I knew then that it was definitely there to stay, but you were just kind of in it and experiencing it before that, and not really fully comprehending, you know, what it was, or, you know, what was happening, but you knew it was different.
The bands that started in England were pretty much manufactured at the beginning. But the bands in America weren't manufactured. They were bands that came along. They were bands that were playing their shit. And then McLaren realized that there was something to it. With the clothes, which then the clothes were the same as Slade were wearing, and T-Rex. I mean, you if you'd have thrown Mark Bolan from T-Rex into the fucking New York Dolls, he would have just been one of the boys or girls or whatever you want to call
designer
them.
bands, like designer band, like
No, they just fucking wore. It was almost like guys looking like girls wearing women's clothing.
no, McLaren's
but
bands
still
became the like designer of those type bands.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, he
He
manufactured
took their style and designed it to the band.
totally, and picked and individually picked the people of being the
picked them.
band,
Right.
In manufacturing it, punk. But then he didn't realize what was going to happen. That it was so fucking good and so energetic and so out of control that people left and went, "Fuck, I can play that shit."
Yeah.
You know, the Bromley contingent,
Right.
over there,
Right.
and the New York scene over here, and then you had the Ramones and Blondie who went to England and made it big straight away over there, but over here at the time was still playing CBGBs in
Right.
front of 200, 300 people, and it came back labeled. These are punk bands.
Right. You know, and I do remember, I mean, you're right, but bands were, you know, had long hair, they looked pretty in pretty clothes, playing, you know, a lot of complicated music, and there was a real feeling to get back to the basics, you know, get back to something simple. And you know, the 50s, it was stuff, the music from the 50s. I know that when, you know, we were putting together the Smart Pills, you know, we were also influenced by the early Beatles and the Hamburg era, as well as, you know, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, just that three-chord stuff, three-chord music, everybody having fun. Doesn't matter if you fuck up, you know, just have a good time.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands in punk that are like that too. Chuck Berry and Beach Boys are influenced by those bands. You hear it a lot. They take it and they make it their own.
Well, in those days, I mean, with punk rock, there was no punk rock.
Yeah.
I mean, before. I mean, you only had that earlier music.
That's what was your influence. That's what you heard as a baby. You know
exactly.
When this came out, when the Aliens came out, you were, in your own mind, what were you?
You know, that's a good question. We were, you know, I don't know that we really had a label for it. We were writing songs. We were, you know, writing what we liked to play, what we liked to, you know, I guess what we were influenced by, and it just kind of came out that way. I don't think I really had, you know, a vision of it being in a particular...
Because it's very raw. It's very, you know...
Yeah.
Very, like we said, it was the MC5, it was Velvet Underground, it was all that stuff thrown in. And there was that 2-3 year period, and then you had the Pistols, and you had the Clash's first album over there, which was an amazing... That was the first album I ever fucking bought. Not album, but the first punk album I ever bought. And never mind, the Bollocks wasn't even out then. I mean, the summer of '77 was the Pistols' 45s. A year before that, or November of '76, Anarchy in the UK, which no one fucking heard. We never heard Anarchy in the UK until the album came out, because it never got anywhere.
Right.
But God Save the Queen with the Jubilee and that kind of just fucking put it out there.
Yeah.
And right in that summer, the Ramones came along, and it was just like, what the fuck is all this? What is this fucking music? And all of a sudden, all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old to 20-year-old kids, and it was mostly the younger kids, the 14 to 18-year-olds. Right, the 20-year-olds were too fucking clever for that shit, to buy into something that was manufactured. You know? And all of a sudden it was just fucking, that was it. The energy of 77 and 78 was just out of control. And the music was out of control. But then it died real quick. It died in 80. It was gone.
Yeah,
and there was a second generation.
Yep.
Right. I mean, we were out here by 1980, and I stayed in it probably until about 84, 85, and then it was obvious to me that it was changing. Music again was changing. The synthesizer, everybody was doing synthesizers,
new wave,
yeah, all that stuff. So,
I'm going to play some Johnny Thunders, New York Dolls. Could be one or the other because it's on both albums, right? I went to see.
I love that song.
I told you I went to see a play that really opened my eyes about Johnny Thunders and the New York Dolls, and there was so much fucking great music.
How was that? Was it really good?
It was unbelievable. It was a tiny little theatre in Fullerton, and but the music, the musicians they brought in for it, just nailed the whole fucking scene, and it was about 10 years ago. And I didn't realise that the Dolls were that fucking good, and they had that many good songs.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of good songs.
And I went out and bought the album. I went, fucking hell, the anthology of the New York Dolls and Johnny Thunders, and was just blown away. And then started looking into their history, because to me, punk had started in '77, and it started with the Pistols and the Ramones and the Clash, and there was nothing before it.
There was a little bit before it. Some stuff.
Yeah. Somehow, the Dolls did get a record deal. And they were touring, in the Midwest, and, I'd actually seen them in the Midwest before I went to New York. So they were one of the ones that I feel like they kind of slipped through.
Yeah, one of the early ones.
KRadio.com.
You're listening to A Beautiful Disaster this wonderful Tuesday with Dutchy Cat and Alina. And we have Vince Conrad in the studio. We're very honored to have you here, Vince.
Thank you.
Go VinceConrad.com. That's your site.
Yes.
Go look at that site, read it. There's all kinds of cool stuff on there. It's a learning experience.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. Am I actually paying attention?
You are.
Yeah. It's really,
It
very
is. It's
interesting.
And if there's any future guests, right, and every now and again, if you sneak a look behind you, you'll catch it going, fucking.
She actually looks interested, though. She is interested.
He's boring. Get him the fuck off. Wow, if she's interested, it must be fucking good.
And I don't see the
She's just saying that.
I don't see the shot glass getting lifted either.
No.
Yeah, she's actually listening.
CakeRadio.com, 909-989-0789. I would fucking call in and ask this guy a question, because
Yes,
I'll tell you now, this is fucking good shit.
Yep. Download
Johnny
the app.
Thunders, Personality Crisis, from the album Jet Boy, the anthology.
Download the app, KKRAD.com.
And this is called Personality Crisis.
Thank you, Johnny.
Hoping for that someday.
JackFakeRadio.com. Hey, what? I can't help it, can I? I don't know what's plugged in and what's not plugged in. I guess
know.
that's not plugged in, I guess. Maybe it
Looks
is,
like it
maybe it
is.
ain't. Maybe I could do that.
Maybe it's loose. Let me see.
Maybe it's just the mute button.
I gotta put it in the hole.
Hang on,
there.
let me bend over and touch that.
There we go.
Mr. Jim, I can
I'm trying to take you back to New York. That's what I'm trying to do.
I love New York. If I could go back at this moment, I would. I love it.
I fucking hated the place, but I only went there for 2 days.
Oh no, I fell in love with it. I could stay there.
And I was in the middle of hurricanes. Not fun. Hurricanes in New York are not fun.
I know. When I got there, the garbage strike was on.
Oh, really?
The first time
That
I
was
went,
fun.
the first time I went to New York, I got there and there was that big hurricane. My plane got delayed and I was stuck for 2 weeks in the hurricane because of the
All
hurricane.
right.
Your friend got laid?
No, the plane was delayed. My
Oh, I
plane
thought
was
you
the
said
first
your
plane to
friend.
get.
That's what I
No,
thought.
my,
That's what he said.
All right.
actually, no, it was
My friend got
canceled.
laid.
Yeah.
Well,
It
what?
was actually cancellation. It was the first cancellation for the hurricane. And I got stuck there 2 weeks, and I loved New York.
Just
after
came out like you said. Your friend got laid for 2 weeks. So, fuck
that. Yeah,
it now.
my friend got laid for 2 weeks. Yeah, not me, but my friend.
Makes me want to go right back there.
They say the man is crazy on the coast.
How many albums, when we read that from your website,
Yeah.
how many albums, how many bands are we talking about that you're releasing, re-recorded, not re-recorded, but putting out there?
We've got 4. We've got the Aliens, we've got the Smart Pills, American Bad Taste, and then now I'm starting to do solo projects, which you have the first one. I'm working on the second one now.
And what inspired you to re-release this?
You know, I had bought a recorder about a year ago. I mean, I've been wanting to do it. I've been actually putting together the Smart Pills project for 4 or 5 years. All we had were cassette tapes of those shows. And different people made different recordings on cassette of those shows. And so it was a process of actually reaching out, getting the tapes, loading them in, making decisions about which ones were usable, which ones weren't usable. And so it just finally came together in December of 2015. Bought some new equipment and decided we're ready to roll here.
Vinyl?
The vinyl is coming out momentarily. I mean, probably in a week or two. The 2 songs that I gave you, "Brainwash" and "Person to Avoid," are going to be released on Brain Transplant Records. Those are going to be on vinyl, our first vinyl, and it's going to be a 7-inch. They will be available also on the Vince Conrad website. Brain Transplant's actually going to turn those over to Subterranean for distribution, and we don't know where they're going to go, what record stores they're going to be in from Subterranean. But you will definitely be able to get them on Vince Conrad's website.
And I'm on your Facebook page right now.
Yeah.
Is that you as a young kid?
Yes.
There's all kinds
Damn!
of awesome.
That's
There's
me
a
and the
ton of
Smart
awesome
Pills.
pictures of him.
Really?
Yeah, that's me and the Smart Pill.
Cool as fuck.
I was looking for a
If you're
picture for the
looking
media
at-
flyer. Yeah, there's a lot of pictures. Good looking kid.
That was
lot of
in our
pictures.
loft. We actually, when we went to Topeka, right, for $100 a month, we got a downtown loft in Topeka. We're on the 2nd floor.
$100 a month.
$100 a month. We lived there. There was no showers, but we lived there. We rehearsed there.
Like a lockout.
Yeah, it was. You walked up, and at 5 o'clock we were allowed to start rehearsing because Topeka just shut down.
Sleep all day, up all night.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we wrote a lot of the material there and rehearsed a lot of the material there before we came to LA. But that picture's from
So if anyone goes to your Facebook page, they can find all your links to all the bands,
Yes.
all the music.
Yes. Yeah, everybody can, I mean, you can actually go and click on any of the buttons there, and you can actually listen to the music. You don't have to buy it.
I love that.
You can
I
just
love
listen
that.
to it. If you want to buy it, if you want to own it, you can do that too. But you don't have to. You can just listen to it.
The other CD that I popped in that one there was American Bad Taste.
Yeah.
How you weren't a part? You weren't in that band.
I was in that band.
You were in that?
Yeah, I actually wrote half the material on the American Bad Taste record, and I played bass on that record.
You wrote a lot of songs, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still writing today?
Absolutely. I just
Still
finished
playing
one
today?
Yes, absolutely. I just finished. Like I said, we're working on this. I'm working on the second EP.
With what band are you playing with? Just yourself? Awesome.
Yeah, just me. Actually, on this record, the solo project, that's all
Are
me.
you the Mike Oldfield of punk?
I don't know about that, but
I book shows.
actually, yeah, the solo project is only me. That all the songs, everything, I did that. On the new EP, I actually got Terry Thomas, ex of the Ultimatics, He's also played with Walter Lure out here. The last time Walter was out here, and he's playing lead guitar on one of the new on the new track on the new EP.
On the new EP.
Yeah.
So do you record? You drum? You do bass?
Yeah.
You bring sessions in for that?
Actually, this whole record was done with a drum machine. Believe it or not, I programmed the drum machine. Basically, I just listened to different drum beats and decided what I wanted, and it worked out pretty good. Yes, that one.
Oh, we're gonna have to play that. You look a little Sid Vicious in that.
He does look a little Sid Vicious in that. I kind of like it.
You look a little fucked up in that picture. Right there.
I was a lot fucked up.
He looks like he might be a little bit high.
See, you go high, I go drunk. See, English people think drunk, Americans think high.
Look at his eyes.
Yeah, drunk. I got 1,000 pictures of me like that. but I was never high in my life, as you know.
High on life.
Oh, exactly. So we're gonna play a song from American Bad Taste,
Okay.
Slut Babies.
Slut Babies. Okay, now
I love that name.
one of our friends, Durf Scratch, he was the original bass player in Fear. Used to hang around. This was done in Ian's recording studio, and he was hanging around. Ian didn't like my bass track on it, and so Durf sat in, and so Durf Scratch is playing on the bass on this track.
And he was an original member of
Fear.
Fear.
Yeah.
Wow.
First base. He's in actually Decline of the Western Civilization
Fear.
one.
Uh-huh.
If you see Fear, Durf's in Decline 1.
Well, we'll talk more about that afterwards because I'm interested to know your transition from New York to LA and how the fuck you got.
And the differences.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're huge because New York. We'll talk about that after. I'm going to go off and keep talking.
Can't help it, can you?
No, it's a great conversation.
It is, yeah.
My brain keeps saying more and more.
TagRadio.com.
A beautiful disaster this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. Dutchie, Cat, and Alina.
I'm going to call it.
Studio.
I'm going to call her Doctor because Alina's happy.
She is happy.
Happy and laughing.
She brought me an ice full of a couple of ice and nice drink. Yeah.
Slut Babies. American Bad Taste.
Chaoticreader.com.
It's going to come on.
Sooner or later. That was awesome. Slut Babies. I like the name of that.
American Bad Taste. I like the name of the band as well.
And did you write that song?
I wrote that song, yeah.
That's awesome. And did you play, what instrument did you play in that band?
Well, on that band I played bass.
Okay.
Yeah. Ian, Holiday Ian played guitar, but that particular song, Durf played bass.
Awesome. I like that.
Vince Conrad's in the studio,
Yes.
and I'm fucking loving this conversation.
Isn't it? I think we're going to have him back again because I don't think we're going to finish
Do me a
everything.
favor, Alina. Call hospital food and tell him I get fucked. We'll do them another day, because they're a bunch of English hooligans anyway. They're probably all fucked up because England got beat by Iceland and all that shit, so... I'm just kidding, Alina. Don't put the phone down. Put it down. Don't call him. Don't call him. Nathan's a friend of mine.
Nathan's really nice. He's a big supporter of the radio show, too. Both of all the shows.
He
of
is.
yours, the 70 RPM, and that of my Thursday show, and of the show.
Visit Conrad.com, KRadio.com, 909-989-0789.
It's a beautiful disaster with Dutchy Cat and Alina.
All right, we're going to do some commercials. We'll be back in a little bit.
Yes, don't miss it. You don't want to miss it. You miss it, you miss out.
When the normal BS just won't do. ChaoticRadio.com. Yo.com. 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 Yo.com.